It is 5:30. I'd like to welcome everyone to the city council meeting of Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the east wall of the council chambers, and a notice of this meeting was published in the York News Times, June 25th, 2026. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, the roll call.
Lopez. Here. North.
Here.
Shepherd. Postier. Wilkinson. Van Esch.
Here.
Piper.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Our next agenda item is approval of the minutes from the June 18th, 2026 meeting. You were all sent those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Amanda?
Lopez. Yes. North.
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Next are claims of elected officials.
Oh, Finance Committee did meet yesterday.
Sorry.
Yeah, they usually got that. You guys are up.
We did meet yesterday. There claim for Tony North of North Printing and Office in the amount of $1,387.39. I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Amanda?
Lopez. Yes. North.
Abstain.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. The next claim that we have for official, is claim for Jeff Piper for Piper's Inc. in the amount of $808.52. Move for approval?
Second.
Motion and a second. Amanda?
Lopez.
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Abstain.
McGregor.
Yes. And the final claim is for Stephen Postier for the York County Development Corporation in the amount of $9,061.75. And I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions of the Finance Committee? No. Hearing none. Amanda?
Lopez.
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Next, the claims for the period of June 19th through July 2nd, 2026.
Again, the Finance Committee did meet yesterday and I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further comment? Amanda?
Lopez.
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Our next item is City Administrator Report. Dr. Crawford?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Well, this weekend is a big weekend, July 4th weekend and America 250 weekend. And so I hope that you'll check out the city website that has several of those America 250 opportunities listed. In addition to the ceremony co-sponsored also with the York Visitors Bureau and Creative District at the Interstate to celebrate the sculpture there. There's also information about that sculpture and that process in our museum, which now is open during weekend hours for summer, and also in the library. So encourage you to check out that for more information there. And we have the Firecracker Frenzy with an additional drone show this year. So encourage you to be out there, and the city doesn't sponsor that, but just being a cheerleader for great things happening in the community. So also, just a reminder that there are city rules about fireworks. So from June 28th to July 3rd, they can be, you're allowed to shoot fireworks from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on July 4th from 9 a.m. to midnight. And just a reminder that there is no rain delay. There is no provision in the code that allows us to let people shoot them off on the 5th if it rains on the 4th. So watch the weather, make sure you shoot your fireworks in some window between rain or phone a friend who lives outside of the city. That's what I have.
Very good. Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is Matt leave to address the council regarding the police chief's comments from the York News Times article from June 23rd, 2026. Matt, if you would, just your name and address for the record, and the microphone is yours.
Sure, Matthew Lee from at 1801 Paradise Pond View here in York. Thank you for putting me on the agenda and letting me speak. I did want to make some comments about the article that was in the newspaper back on June 23rd, where the police chief is asking for $106,000 out of the budget, out of taxpayer money for an additional police officer. What I would like this council to do is, he was stated in this article that when he came here in 2017, there was approximately 8,000 calls that our police department responded to. He says that that's now increased to 10,500 calls, and probably, I think he's indicating that it's probably going to keep increasing. What I'd like the council to do before you guys spend the $106,000 is to look into what some of these calls are. Are they necessary police calls, or is it an inefficient use of police resources? And I can share with you my personal experience. In probably the past 2 months, the police have responded probably 5, maybe 6 times to my house because of our cat. Our cat gets outside sometimes, it wanders off. Cats do that. The police have been to my house, talked to my wife, talked to me, got to keep our cat under control, there's city ordinances, et cetera, et cetera. We have a multitude of neighbors in our neighborhood, but only one calls the police. And what I'm frustrated about the police department services is when the person calls and complains, before police is dispatched to it, I guess I would think that there would be some prudent conversation about, is the cat acting vicious? Is the cat doing damage? What is the purpose that the police need to respond to a cat that's walked over and laid either on the driveway or a sidewalk? I understand my neighbor doesn't want the cat over there, but does it really need to involve our police? Where this last time when they came, they issued a citation. I have a police citation, which is now gonna take more time and resources for the police, because I'm gonna fight this citation. Charlie and I are gonna have a visit in court here real soon, I think next week. And then I'm gonna challenge it even further from there. I'm gonna want a hearing and a trial. I want that police officer to come into court and defend this citation. I just think it's a ridiculous waste of our police resources. I don't think it's necessary that this council needs to spend another $106,000 of our taxpayer money so that the police can chase down cats that wander in our community. And that's what they're doing. Police chief and I had a conversation earlier this week. Very, I think respectful to a point, but I'm disagreeing with him. He thinks that it's absolutely necessary because it's in our ordinance. He did point out to me that there's an ordinance committee. I wasn't aware of that. I hope I can get some information tonight from the council as to when the next ordinance meeting is. I would like to speak to the ordinance committee and talk about situations like a cat that's not doing any harm, that's not doing any damage, that is not threatening in any way. It's not tearing up somebody's yard. It's not doing any property damage. It just wanders onto the property and takes a nap sometimes. And is that really necessary to involve our police? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Any questions? Let me know. See you next week, Charlie.
See you.
Thank you, Matt. I'll let you share that. Yeah. Our next agenda item is consider approval of a special designated liquor license for Fresh Foods York, Inc. for a beer, wine, and liquor tasting and sampling event Thursday, August 6, 2026 at 2345 North Nebraska Avenue for the York County Fair. I do not know if we have a representative of them here tonight. I'm not aware that we've had any issues when they've done this in the past. I think this has gone on at the fair for the last number of years, and they have a pretty good system of checking identification and making sure that it's an adult-only event and all of that. So I guess, does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Move for approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Amanda?
Lopez,
Yes.
North,
Yes.
Van Ash,
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Next, we need to consider approval of a quote from Traffic and Parking Control Company LLC for 32 configurable crosswalk system controllers in the amount of $75,920. James?
So this sales quote from TAPCO is actually, would help us to put into place the 32 different crosswalk systems that we have called out on our school safety zone study for the 3 public schools and the 2 parochial school buildings in those neighborhoods. It comes with a approximate 3-week lead time, so that'll also give us time to get those up and in place before the next school year starts. I'm actually ordering the other speed limit signs and when children are present signs from a different company. This will just be your rapid flashing beacons, the push button solar.
We're gonna install these ourselves.
We will install them ourselves, yep. And TAPCO is part of Omnia Partners contract, to where they provide municipalities, local government entities to purchase through them, the purchase agreement.
With a public bidding process,
Correct.
just to clarify.
So like a
There's
state
public
bid.
bidding process, yes.
Do you foresee any of the, issues with solar powering in some of those areas? Are they gonna be obstructed with at all?
The ones that I have that I was talking with MPPD on would be getting some actual power
Okay.
to help light up the crosswalks better. And those are areas to where, you might have a street light, another utility pole down from where a crosswalk is. And then I would just, because we, as the city, we currently have rental LED units that they're able to put up for us. And I'm more worried about illuminating the crosswalk, more than the solar capabilities. Yeah, we currently have, we have solar and it's way out in the open, but if there's any issues, we might have to look at some electrical, but this will give us a good start on the major crosswalk areas around the school zones.
And then the software part of it, does that tell you if there's trouble with one of the signs?
Yep, that tells you if there's faults or if it's not charging, because they do have backup batteries in them. So, if we need to figure that out, change out batteries, those batteries do go out once in a while. And we do not currently have the capability to monitor that. So that'll be a nice feature to have, rather than run around, oh, hey, this one's not working.
Right.
We'll be able to tell it pull it up on the map and it'll show a fault code.
Other questions of James? Thank you, James.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Amanda?
Lopez,
Yes.
North,
Yes.
Van Ash.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Next is a public hearing notice of the completed use and closeout of the CDBG Economic Development and Housing Income Program, repurpose funds. I have a statement to read from James Owens, the Senior Community Development Specialist for Southeast Nebraska Development District. This is the second public hearing of the City of York CDBG Economic Development and Housing Program Income Repurpose Project. It is formally under the Community Development Block Grant that is done towards the end of the grant performance period once the national objectives are met and all costs have been incurred and paid out. This hearing provides the public the opportunity to weigh in one final time on the project and voice any concerns or support they had or may have in relationship to this project. Following the discontinuation of the city's CDBG Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund and House Revolving Loan Fund, the Nebraska Department of Economic Development approved the city to repurpose the combined program income approximately $264,000 towards eligible public improvements. These funds were applied to 3 activities on city-owned property: an extension of the city's transportation trail system to improve access to food and jobs, an emergency generator for the community auditorium and storm shelter, and the purchase and installation of 2 new traffic signal controllers in the downtown area. The project met the national objective of benefit to the limited clientele, meaning these funds were removed architectural barriers to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines and assisted persons with mobility limitations, primarily benefiting low to moderate income persons. The trail extension generator had been completed, and the remaining program income of what was applied towards the traffic signal controllers, with the city covering the balance of that cost with local street funds. Only a few things remain for this project prior to the closeout. SEND is currently working on obtaining and all monitoring final reporting documentation. No funds are remaining or will need to be de-obligated. So it was good that we could repurpose those and do some projects with that $264,000 instead of just sending it back. And that kind of spelled out what we actually did with it, which all came through the council prior to that. So this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this item, they could come to the microphone at this time. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on this item, and we will regard this as the second public hearing on this issue. Our next agenda item is consider approval of a letter agreement from MPD for relocation of MPD electric distribution lines for Project Access York pedestrian bridge, estimated cost totaling $658,582.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to briefly introduce the item and then turn it over to Daniel to answer any questions that you have. So this is before you because we are working with MPPD to facilitate a utility relocation prior to the trail and bridge coming in. And it was, this is a way to get this done inside our agreement that we have with MPPD. And so it is covered by grant funding. So we will be paying and then getting reimbursed. We've had a lot of conversation with NPPD legal and NDOT and our legal about making sure that we have language to ensure that we meet data compliant, if at all possible. And we have a process through which we will go if there's something that isn't, to make sure we're getting all the required approvals and paperwork to make that happen. So this is for utility relocation in cooperation with MPPD. And we have a new MPPD liaison. So I'll turn it over to him. So you introduce yourself and answer any questions people have.
So hey everyone, Dan Gregory, retail account manager for this area now. I took over for Craig Vincent back in March. Met some of the local community leaders and things like that, but I've yet to come to a council meeting. The biggest thing is like with the letter, it's a pretty standard contract when you work around some of this stuff when you're working with multiple entities like NUOT and Olson in the city and things like that. Our biggest thing is we don't want to have costs stick to the city for this. So we're trying to make sure all the agreements are in line for it. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have for it.
I assume this amount is probably for all the relocating that all have to be done on the project then?
Correct.
Like raising lines and obviously is there some underground stuff too that ought to be?
Yep. So, essentially that three-phase line that is in between Arby's and Wendy's there, just down by the interstate, all that needs to get buried and out of the way for that bridge. So in order to do that, we'll have to bore a new under the highway there, set some different switch gear and things like that, some new pad mount transformers. If anything, it will help the reliability too, because then you won't have that overhead line there. So.
Could you speak to the efforts you've made already in terms of looking at BABA compliance and your confidence in your ability to meet that?
Yes, so part of this whole process, we have a team that's been working specifically on this project. Our procurement team typically will not go out and look at things to make sure they're BABA compliant without the notice to proceed. In this case, we work with our procurement team to work ahead and try to ensure our switchgear, our big ticket items, our transformers, everything was BABA compliant. So we feel we are very confident that we can prove that everything will be BABA compliant and we'll be able to meet that guidelines. At the same time, our legal team's like, you be careful from signing off on that because just in case something comes up. So, but we do have a team to look into all the components down to nuts and bolts, right? Because the crazy thing about it is like some bolts are made in America, but the nut is not. So you have to kind of mismatch there. But the estimate that was given is basically our best guess estimate based on the time that we ran the figures and the numbers. So they could fluctuate up and down. So, and then it wouldn't be, billed until it was actuals at the end of the project. None of this would have to be paid up front. So.
Any other questions? Well, thanks for coming to introduce yourself. We'll see you again, I'm sure, many times, and appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Dan. Well, I'll move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and seconding further comment. Amanda?
Lopez,
Yes.
North,
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Our last agenda item is consider approval of resolution 2026-17 for approval of preliminary plan specifications estimates for Project Access York, DPS -9315. Dr. Crawford?
Yes, so this resolution is basically agreeing to have Olson and NDOT release the plans for the trail for bid. So the hope is to get to that point by October, so it'll be a public bid by October. So this is, we're at what's often called the PS&E 90 step. So we're almost there in terms of the plans. And so the plans have been changed due to some public input. For example, the plans after our hearings. So after the hearings, plans were changed to allow to not restrict parking on Nebraska. And we also changed the plans to allow a better trail going through the Nebraska around 2nd Street into the park. We together, I should say, approved us asking Olson to put the bid together in a way that would allow a bid alternate for lights on the trail. So one of the things we heard in those hearings as well was a concern about lighting on the trails in areas where where there are streetlights. And so thankfully, as we've been going through this process, the costs have been going down, which is great. So we are at a stage where you never know the full cost until the bids come back. But the projected opinion of cost is such that it looks like we could likely include lights and still meet our original budget. So the bid alternate means that it's in the package, and if the package comes back and we think, no, we just can't afford that now, we can pull that out. So we're basically agreeing that you are ready, you're willing to have NDOT put the trail as designed by Olson out for bid.
Questions of Dr. Crawford?
In this step, since we're moving forward with that, does that mean that we've already reached agreements, or NDOT's already reached agreements with homeowners and right of ways and all that stuff
So that's a good question. Actually, we are, NDOT is out making, in negotiations with property owners. In the federal project, it moves forward while those negotiations are still happening. So early on, we had a council action agreeing that if condemnation was needed, that we were willing to go forward with that. So the process, that's part of what the federal government asked us to do since it has such a tight timeline. So if there is a condemnation happening, and if it is delayed, that does not delay the project. So the project, again, the council agreed earlier that this was a important project for the community, and if condemnation was necessary, it would happen. Thankfully, a lot of what I'm hearing from the conversations, they're going, well, people are getting paid to move their fence, and people are getting paid even if it's temporary, not permanent easement. People are getting paid for,
But they've closed on a number
yes.
of
They've closed
properties.
on
and-
over half.
Yeah, so they're moving along at a
So
pretty
they're
good,
moving up.
pretty good pace.
Right, so, I think that's a good question. Thank you for asking.
Any other questions?
I move for approval.
Are you allowing public comments on this item for vote?
Sure. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Amy Lehman, 1430 South Grant Avenue here in York, Nebraska. I'm here today because I have concerns about the administration of the Project Access York project, and I believe that these concerns are directly relevant to your consideration of the PSNE package. My concern is whether the mayor had the legal authority to execute a legally binding agreement with the United States Department of Transportation without prior authorization from this council, and also the potential consequences to the city from the guarantees made in that agreement. I have reviewed council agendas and minutes from January 2022 to the present on the city website, and I have found nothing authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between the USDOT, the NDOT, and the city of York. The agreement was signed by the mayor in October of 2023 and was signed again in October of 2024. If this agreement did not come before the council, then this raises important questions about whether the proper legal process has been followed, whether the agreement is enforceable, and whether the city's interests have been adequately protected. There needs to be a legal opinion provided on the mayor's execution of this USDOT agreement. This is the only agreement that includes the USDOT, and the terms and conditions are significantly different from those with the NDOT and the Olson that did come before the council before being signed. In the USDOT agreement, the recipient states that all material statements of fact in the technical application were accurate when the application was submitted, and a benefit cost analysis is required for a raised grant application. This analysis needs to follow the guidelines that are established by the U.S. Department of Transportation, and a positive cost benefit ratio is required for the project to be eligible for funding under a raised grant. However, when I reviewed the benefit cost analysis in the grant application for Project Access York, I found that the required methodology was not followed. The reported benefit cost ratio of 1.865 in the application relies almost exclusively on what the USDOT calls economic impact. This is things like retail spending, sales tax revenue, and increased jobs. Over $35 million of the benefits for the project fall under the economic impact category, and according to the USDOT guidance, these benefits were not allowed. The only allowed benefit is fuel savings of about $38,000. When the USDOT guidance is followed, the benefit ratio falls well below 1, meaning that the project does not have merit and is not eligible for funding when the grant application standards are followed. If the city proceeds with the project, fuel savings is the only monetized benefit that will be used to measure project performance and required reporting to the USDOT per the USDOT agreement. The expected benefit to be reported to the USDOT for this project is less than $10,000 a year for a $15.6 million federal investment. This is an insignificant benefit for a large investment and invites additional federal scrutiny of the project's merit and eligibility. These are serious concerns, and they deserve a thorough review before the city proceeds any further with this project. If the agreement was not properly authorized, or if the benefit cost analysis does not comply with the published US DOT guidance, these are issues that must be addressed now, not after additional public funds have been committed where the project falls under federal review for noncompliance. US DOT imposed remedial actions can include grant termination and repayment of expended funds. I respectfully request that before the council proceeds any further, that they first determine whether the mayor was properly authorized to execute the US DOT agreement and provide a legal opinion to this point. Second, review the benefit cost analysis using the US DOT guidance. I reviewed it by hand. I also reviewed it using ChatGPT, and that just took a few minutes of time and gave the same results. Third, I would ask that you postpone further action on Project Access York, including acceptance of the PSNE and bid letting, until these reviews are complete and resolved. Transparency requires more than trusting the process or trusting others to look out for the interest of our city. It requires verifying that the city's process was lawful and that the representations made to the federal government were indeed accurate. And I do have copies of both sets of agreements, the general terms and conditions, and the cost benefit analysis. If anybody would like to have a copy of those, I'd be happy to provide those. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously we have, since we were awarded the grant, we've worked with the federal, we've had, the federal.
We are working with Nebraska Department of Transportation, so they are administering the grant. And so they're responsible for being our liaison and ensuring that all of our requirements are being met. And
We
so
have also
been-
had federal
We
representatives
have
here
had federal representatives
that have
here,
been following
and
along
visiting
with this the
them.
whole time.
And it is also a case that this grant, the grant application had matrices of what kinds of benefits they were considering when they were choosing the cities. And in the year that we applied, and so the obligations that we made, they included equity. They included, and we told the story of the importance of getting people to their jobs and the importance of having that opportunity for people. And it included sustainability, encouraging people to use other forms of transportation. So the cost benefit analysis is tied also to those matrices that where they say, this is what we want you to tell us what we're going to do with the grant. So, we have not had any concerns raised by Nebraska Department of Transportation about our compliance, and they are the ones who are helping to manage our compliance. It is the case that this is a very tight timeline. We received the grant in 22, and the funds must be obligated in 26. And so they have been working very hard with us to make sure that we're being compliant on a very tight timeline. So, if you have any other questions about what we've done for, to make sure that we're being compliant, again, we agree, our agreement with the federal government is that NDOT is working on compliance. And part of that is because NDOT does these projects all the time. They know more about compliance. And Jody Gibson, our liaison, has been very good about coming to us with any questions or concerns.
And they've done that too for us at no cost.
Yes, they're doing that for us.
Right.
I have all the faith in NDOT and what they've done to help us with this project. And the fact that we've got this project, this grant funding is amazing. And like you said, we're on a tight timeline, so I don't foresee any issues with this moving forward.
Can I make a comment?
Please state your name and address for the record. Yes.
Dale Lett from Henderson, Nebraska, 1320 18th Street, Henderson. And I have a concern, and most of you maybe don't even know this has been involved. It's dealing with the trail, but it even goes prior to that. My brother and I own the land here by the State Road Department. Okay? And most of you don't know that, and most of the others don't know that, but Teddy Cornelison owns the land that was right from the State Road Department to that. And he decided not to sell it to my brother and I when we obtained the railroad right away. So we went to our lawyer, and I can't bring him here because he's 6 feet under. He passed away. He told us it's no problem. He said, how long do you farm that field? Well, for 20-some years, and now it's 42 years. He said, okay, that beside the State Road Department becomes a permanent easement for you to get to your well. What our renters, and my brother and I retired 10 years ago, so we rented the ground out, and our renters didn't know that. And so I don't know who is responsible, but they allow a cell tower to go up right on the driveway. And then they dug the driveway out that we can't get any propane trucks, we can't get any diesel trucks into our well. That's become a permanent easement. We've used it for 40 years. You can't stop it. So somebody put up a cell tower and dug out the ditch. Now, I just was there today before I came here. There's enough room between the State Road Department and the cell tower that if you put a culvert in there and put dirt in there, we got a driveway. So right now, the renters weren't aware of that. So they come in on the west side of the railroad, they drive over the railroad, and then they come to the well to get their fuel in. If you put the trail there, you don't want a truck driving over that trail because it'll break it all to pieces. I don't care how much rebar you put in there, you're gonna have to put a lot in. So for some reason, and I don't know how long that tower's been there. Somebody can tell me, 2 years, 3 years? I don't remember, because I wasn't farming. But you allowed whoever put the cell tower there and dug that ditch out, you took our easement away, which is illegal. We have a permanent easement to get to that well. That's the only place we can get to that well for fuel. I talked with Ava, who's working with the DOT, and I understand that you were totally against putting an electric wire for us. We could put an electric well to get rid of the danger of the drive shaft. You wouldn't even negotiate with us. You said you wouldn't even talk with us. If that's true, you know, that doesn't sound very good because you could get liable if there's a death over there. Because the motor's been there for 50 years. The trails, you're infringing on the rights of the safety by that motor. That motor's been there for 50 years. It's been safe. But you put kids on there on drugs and alcohol, you think it's safe 20 foot away from the trail? I don't think so. And you weren't willing to put in an electric line to put it so we could put an electric motor on. But you're going to have to give us access to the well to get fuel in there. And you took that driveway away. And that was, and you guys were not made even aware of that. But we had a permanent easement to get into that well. And so you're gonna have to give us that back. So there needs to be a culvert put in, and I've talked with Ava about it. And it sounded like she'd talked with someone. She told me she got no answer back yet, because I called her yesterday.
Well, we have gone out there to see and feel like there is some adequate room for an easement to let people through and responded that. So we'll make sure who didn't get back to who, because we've been communicating our interest in.
So that way the trucks can't
Right.
get in there to get
Right.
propane in, because
Right.
it is a permanent easement. You just drive
Yes.
along there and you don't have to, now they're coming in driving over the railroad. Well, once you put the trail there, they can't drive over that, they'll break it.
Right. So
So
we're
you gotta
in
have-
those conversations, and I don't know where that conversation broke down, but we asked them to present to us a right-of-way proposal so we could consider that, and figure that out.
Since we weren't farming it, I didn't notice it when right away when the tower went up, because I live in Henderson.
Right.
And our renters didn't know we had a permanent easement, so they didn't call us. I said, how you getting the propane in there? Well, we're driving over the railroad. Yeah, but said they put a trail on there, that stopped. He says, yeah, so we gotta get that easement back. So if you could consider that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Working on it.
Any other comments, council?
I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment?
I just haven't been aware of, these things, and I'm a newer member, so just now hearing some comments, I have faith in my constituents and, you know, what has been moving forward before me. I just am saying this is something for myself to dive deeper in and to really see more of what's been going on. That's my only comment.
Well, it has gone on for quite a while,
Yeah, yeah,
so,
definitely.
so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Amanda?
Lopez,
No.
North,
Yes.
Van Esch.
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
And we have 4 votes. We need 5 to pass, and I vote yes. Motion passes. That brings us to the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned.